Welcome, I'm Kasper Holst. I'm the CEO of Impact, and this is number 3 Bites of Impact. And I got Helen on the line from Shanghai. Welcome, Helen.
Good morning, everybody.
And we'll try to guide you through some valuable insights from China. A market ahead of Impact, ahead of the market that we experience here in Denmark at the customers we have an Impact. And I've been lucky to have Helen here. I think Helen is one of the brightest business women I know. And what I've learned from her is that, from China, is that especially Helen, but in China and general, are ahead of us in Europe, both in terms of omnichannel implementations and use of technology to communicate with the customers in brand and retail, and use a marketplace as well. And especially under this COVID crisis, this is interesting because China in 2003, under the SARS, saw a rapid shift towards digital when they had an outbreak 15 years ago. And now China is a bit ahead of Europe, 1 to 2 months, and we have a lot of companies struggling with the crisis and with declining sales, and some are struggling for survival. So it's pretty serious trouble. In this seminar, we will look into both the situation. We will look into valuable insights from China in general. How did the retailers respond under the crisis, and what is the situation now, and what can we learn from China, and what can we learn from Helen's way of operating retail? So I'm located in Paris. This is where I live. I work in Scandinavia 4 days a week, but right now I'm stuck under curfew in Paris. We're only allowed to go out once a day for a bit of exercise or shopping, grocery. So this is actually a webinar across quite distant locations. We hope everything is going to work out and work great here. But excuse us if there's a bit of technicalities underway. And Helen, let's start out with just a brief introduction of you. I'll see if I can ensure that you're on the video. But welcome, and the reason why I was lucky to have you here is we have great relations and share friends, etc. And I'm really glad that you're here. And maybe you just give a short introduction to your function at Flexa in China.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Helen. I'm the general manager of Flexa China. So in the China business, we are mainly doing the sales, marketing, and the brand. And we have our warehouse in Shanghai. I have been in Flexa for 4.5 years. Yeah.
Cool. And previously, where you were with Fiskars and run other business, but the reason why I invited you is especially because of your digital insights. But let's go forward, and we'll go much more into the details. This is the agenda. I will just give a brief introduction. Then we go into Flexa. We take the situation in China, and then we look into how Helen has responded and worked with an actual implemented omnichannel model that is more mature than what we see in Europe. So just a brief fly-in on the situation from a previous webinar. We see that some categories are doing really great, especially grocery, pharmacy, food, modern workplace. We see others are struggling on especially travel, restaurant, automotive. And then we have different categories that are somewhat in between. We have the do-it-yourself and home doing great. We have the luxury struggling a lot at the moment. So we see various declines in sales. Overall, we see that e-commerce has a great growth, and across all categories. So everyone that is really digital or adopted a lot of digital already are doing well. The omnichannel actors or players in the market that didn't transition that much into omnichannel are struggling a lot due to closed stores, etc. And in the B2B, we see salesmen are struck. Summing up, like the global COVID pains related to brand retail and distribution, we see that retail are a bit better situation. They're able to, in some countries, to get compensated, send people home, go into negotiations with their landlords. If you go backwards in the value chain here towards the brands, we see they have they're struggling also with closed stores, especially if they do their own retail like Flexa. But we see also sales of stock at home. We see stock that piles up with overstock, and we see debtor loss, customers and dealers that can't pay their bills. So we see that the brands are really struggling at the moment with kind of all trouble related to the COVID pain. But let's look into the timeline and why we actually have why we invited Helen here. We see that China is a bit ahead of us in Europe. We see Spain and Italy are really struggling in really deep trouble. We see Scandinavia is a bit earlier in the crisis. We see France as well here a bit better on the curve where I'm located right now, and we hope that Scandinavia will pass the worst trouble by the proactive actions taken by the governments. So we hope that Scandinavia will do a bit better, and we hope that Spain, Italy, and France will soon get better. They're struggling hard at the moment. But after the crisis, we're in the crisis right now, and China is somewhat recovering. But after the crisis, we see that there are different scenarios that will be the reality for different companies. Some will go out as winners if they adapted the new reality, maybe use digital more, or if they're in the category where they're able to do a bit of the change. We see some will be the losers if they're really stuck with the old sales channels. And it's all about how the management of those companies take decisions. And going into look at the timeline, I've got a question here. Where do you see USA? I will just say that USA is probably been the same situation as France. They just were struck by a heavy amount of infections and closing down, lockdown cities. So I would say USA is the same location on the timeline as France. But what we see is we have two crises in one. We have the crisis right now with the outbreak, and then we have a possible financial recession afterwards as well. And so we're actually dealing with two crises in one. And based on this, the learnings from China, a market that is ahead of us and going up now, is really interesting to get some learnings. How can we actually deal with this crisis if you're a brand, retailer, distributor? And how can you react and plan for the recovery phase? Let's go into to Flexa. I will not say much. I will let Helen contribute on the way. But I know the CEO of Flexa in Denmark, Carsten, really well. Thank you, Carsten, for setting up a meeting with Helen. I met with Helen first time 3 years ago, and I think Flexa is in a great transformation into to even more attractive and appealing design and products. And that's why Flexa is doing really well as a company and expanding. And Helen, maybe you should China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, which you are in charge of. Can you just give a brief explanation of how how you run your market and what is your actual channel in Flexia in China?
Flexia is a kids furniture brand established in 1972, Denmark. So Flexia offers a comprehensive 4-room kids solution in study, sleep, and play. In China, we have more than 120 stores, and the main sales channel one is in furniture mall, second one is a shopping mall, and also we have 2 online stores.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how important is online before the crisis? How much online have you? How much online sales do you have in your business before the crisis?
Yeah, because we are in the furniture industry. Before the crisis, consumers still mainly the consumer like to go to the store to really physically see, touch, and talk with the sales people in the store. So before the crisis, our online store sales mix was 15%. And we launched our online store 3 years ago. Yes.
Okay. So online is already becoming important before the crisis for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Let's try to go a bit forward right now to take a look at the situation. We see the situation in China right now. This is some of the headlines that I have seen, at least from South China Morning Post and from Quartz, that the sales have been declining heavily. Maybe Helen, you can just contribute a bit. What is the situation right now in regards of retail, and how was it under the outbreak?
Yeah, the actual outbreak happened January 21st, start with Wuhan. Then after 3 days, whole China locked down. And from March 1st, China start to go back to normal little by little. So now office start working, and shops start open, restaurant, public transportation are also become normal. But people are still a little bit concerned going around. And we are always wear mask. You can see from photo. We are always wear mask, even nowadays walking around. And we always clean our hands every time we touch anything. And also in China, Chinese government also start to be digitalized. And every Chinese is mandatory to apply an app in the mobile phone. And this app give you a code. So based on your information. So every time you take public transportation, every time you go to restaurant, you have to register yourself. And if there's any confirmed case, just sit 5 meters together with you, your code will become yellow or red. Then you cannot go around. So only people who has green code can walk around. And every time you enter office building, shopping mall, people will check which code, which the color of the code you have. Yes.
And I heard the same in Hong Kong. If you arrive as a foreigner and you have to go in quarantine with actually a electronic wristband to ensure they look at you. So it's pretty tough measure. We'll come back to the voice about second wave later. Can you tell a bit more about under the outbreak in February? How much did the sales decline? Overall in your business, how much did the sales go down when it was worst?
Yeah, you can see before the crisis, our online sales was 15% only. So during the whole outbreak in February, almost no store opened. So we only opened our online store. And at that time, even the logistic company in China is not fully worked. So usually online store is a speedily delivery, but during this outbreak, you cannot expect any speed delivery. So usually people buy online, maybe you have to wait 1 week or 2 weeks instead of 2 or 3 days to get your products.
Okay. But what about the sales in retail? How much did the sales decline? How many % of normal sales? What was the index numbers in February?
Yeah, actually, the whole February, the retail business, for the first 3 weeks, almost nothing happened because all the stores were closed. So some stores start to open just the last 2-3 days of February. So in the retail business, offline, almost nothing happened in February.
Okay. And how is what is the situation right now? We are now in 2nd of April, 2 months after the beginning of the lockdown, and you opened again in 1 month ago now. How is it 1 month after? How much is recovered now of sales?
Yeah, Chinese government they opened the city by city based on the situation. So currently, Wuhan, the center of the coronavirus, still has not completely open yet, and the other city are little by little open. But till now, Beijing is not so open as other cities. So if I put away Beijing, in March, our sales has already recovered by 80%. And if I put Beijing together as a total, we only recovered by 60%.
Okay. And how much is, what about the online sales? Had it changed, the online sales under the outbreak, and now? We talked about there might be a change in the numbers of the percentage.
Yeah. We look at March. This March, our online sales mix has already improved from previous 15 now to 25.
Okay. And do you expect that to continue with that? Do you expect a higher digital sales percentage going on from here as well?
Yeah. During this 1 month outbreak, actually, consumers' shopping behavior has forced to change.
Yeah.
Some people before the crisis, they really just still depend on offline. But during this 1 month, many people, they start and they learn how to do shopping online. So I still expect this online sales increasing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I'll just go a bit forward here. What is your expectation for recovery overall? How much time do you think it's going to take, the recovery?
Our target, the China team target is we are targeting to use 2 months and 2 months half to fully recover.
Yeah, and does that depend on if there's a second wave of outbreak? Would that affect that timeline?
Actually, there's many topics about the second wave will come or not. And based on what I read, many doctors said yes, the second wave will come. But instead of thinking when the second wave will come or whether the second wave will come, it's better to take time to prepare by yourself, by the company. Are you ready for the second wave to come? Yes. So after experience the first wave, we are more proactive to improve our own immune system. Yeah.
Okay. But let's look at some of the initiatives, because we had a pre-talk earlier this week, and I think it was really, really interesting to learn about the initiatives, because you saw all stores closed, and no options for physical sales, and you, as well as other Chinese retailers, had to mitigate. But maybe just to fly in on that matter, your online store is based on Tmall, right?
Yes.
It's based on the marketplace. Yeah. And is that typical in China that that you have your store on the marketplace on Tmall, or do you have your own store as well, online store, or is it everyone only on Tmall?
Tmall, yeah. Tmall is for brand company. Taobao is for private company. Yeah.
Okay. So this is where you run e-commerce. It's through the marketplace by default. Yeah. And do you use their logistics systems for the delivery, or do you have your own logistics?
We have third-party logistics.
Okay. So you sell through the marketplace, but you have your own logistics to deliver the products to the
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. I've just included one here. But you also told me that already before the crisis, you implemented an omnichannel ecosystem together with the dealers, and you have both franchise dealers and you have own retail stores, right? You have own and some are franchise, right?
Shanghai, we have our own retail store. The rest of the cities, we are franchising dealership.
Yeah, and what you told me is that you already implemented 3 years ago an omnichannel system or omnichannel model together with the dealers. Can you explain a bit more how, if you sell through Tmall, how do you collaborate with the franchise dealers?
Yeah, to keep the balance between online and offline is always our key strategy. So when we start our online store, we work out how to just outside provide the same product, same service, and also same price to consumer. And internally, how can we cooperate with our dealer? So, so I just make some example is we share our logistic and installation service with our dealer. So for example, we have one consumer place order online from Beijing. So we get the order, then we pass the order to our local dealer in Beijing. So they will do the delivery and the installation. And meanwhile, they also provide 5 years warranty. So by doing this, we provide the same product, same price, same service to all flagship consumers.
And I think that's interesting, just an understanding before going into what you did. But you experienced that all your stores, all your dealers were closed, and you have to help them ensuring the sales under the outbreak and just after in the recovery phase. Can you explain a bit more about what did you do? What was your approach and actions?
That time we nobody really work around, all the store closed. So then why not launch an online flagship store? So that time we launched our VR flagship store and just send to our dealers, and our dealers send to their potential consumers. So this VR online flagship store, we just try to simulate as much as possible the retail experience in the offline store. So consumer can really click the mouse and walking around each sample room in the VR flagship store.
I will just try to share here. And see if I can go. Are you seeing the PowerPoint now? Or are you seeing the flagship store? Just see. I'll share screen. Can you transfer the host to me, Helen? I'll just reclaim the host here. Just a second. In the participant list, can you provide me back as a host?
You already give me the host?
Yeah, can you give me the host back in the participant list? You can give me the host.
Okay.
Give me the host back.
So I share the screen now.
Yeah. Perfect. Can you share the screen?
Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our online VR flagship store. So this is the entrance. Yeah. Then you can move to each sample room. Yeah, like this.
How do you get the traffic to this? Is it traffic that comes through Tmall and then into the flagship store, or how do you get your the customers? How do you create awareness about the flagship store? How do you invite them into the flagship store?
First is we just pass this to all our dealers, and our dealer, they are responsible for each city, so they can pass this through WeChat to their potential consumers. Second is we also publish this on our Tmall store, because every day actually we have more than 2,000 visitors to our Tmall store. So this is second way. Third way is we also publish this through our public WeChat. So we have company public WeChat. So consumer really can enter and just view our online store.
Okay. And you can maybe show on the right you have the lights, and you have on the right side here what you have out in the screen. You have the hard, and you have other options inside the flagship store.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you explain what is this out here? The hard and the different options on the right side. Yeah.
Here is, this one is a full screen, so you can have better view. This one is if you like it, you can just directly send this link to your friends through WeChat. And this is if you really like it, you can click I like it. Yeah. So here you have more function button. This one is all the sample room list. So actually you can see we have it's quick to go to each sample room. And this one, because this system can track where I am now. So it tracks I'm in Shanghai and where is my location, then indicate close to me where are flagship retail store.
Okay, so you have a direct you can say connection, driving traffic
Yes.
from the VR
GPS,
to the digital
yes,
stores.
then can drive you. If you click one store, the GPS can give you the direction to our store. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I will just go back to the other presentation here, reclaiming, and I will go into share screen. Just a second, and back. Yeah, and I'll just go back. But under the crisis, they cannot visit the store. So under the crisis, was the only way to sell on Tmall, or could you sell in different other ways? Could you sell your products to the clients in different ways?
Yeah, we're also doing live show. Yeah, so during this crisis, we just doing live show and introduce our products through video, and potential consumers can join our live show, and they can pay. They can place order directly, or they can just pay deposit, and later they can go to our retail store to finish the purchasing.
So all the consumers are spending time on Taobao and Tmall, and as I understand it, you push ads to and you spend online marketing spend to gain traffic to your live show. So you push the live show to the consumers.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we just work out this live show, the whole time schedule, we also publish this to all our local dealers. So they invite their potential consumers to watch this live show. So we have really many people watching a live show, and some consumers they pay directly through online, and some consumers, they pay the deposit, and later they can go to a retail store to finish buying the products.
Okay, and you told about if you go to a live show and you actually buy a product and you get the gift, you get a gift because you paid the deposit, right?
Yes.
But the gift is given, yeah?
Yeah, we are the furniture business, so it's not impulse purchasing products. So there are some consumers, they like our products, but they still need time to consider it. But that's fine. So you can see on the screen, on the left below, there's a 1. So this is actually the deposit link. So if you really like our products and you are considering to buy, and if you put the deposit, and the next time you purchase our product, we give you a gift because you watch our live show. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then from the live show, you drive that traffic to the actual stores, as I understand, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. We just did a little bit of drawing about how I understood it. So you use Taobao and Tmall to generate
Yes.
traffic and sales, and you use the flagship to qualify, and then the dealer interacts with the client. Can you tell a bit more about? I understand that all the employees, the 300-400 employees at the 100 stores, when the stores were closed, they spent time on WeChat with their clients. Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah. Actually, a few years ago, we already started to develop the digital catalog, or I call a portable catalog, because before purchasing, we are trying as much as possible to reach more potential consumers. And if you have your paper or printed catalog, when consumer will get it, it's already in your store. So with the digital catalog, you can reach as many as possible. And also some consumer will refer to their friends. So actually, we started digital catalog 3 years ago. And this is one example. So this is, you can see each product, we have the QR code. So consumer can use a mobile phone to scan the QR code. Then they immediately get the product information directly. Then with this information, consumer can either buy online or they have the retail store information, they can go. So this is one thing we use. Second thing is we also develop a kind of small program. Once we just give our digital catalog to our consumers. Meanwhile, we also can talk with this consumer later through WeChat. And also from database, we can see, for example, I introduce our treehouse to you. And when you read our treehouse product catalog, from database, we can track how many seconds you spend on which picture more. So with this kind of information, our salespeople can be more precisely to introduce the right product to you. Yeah.
So when the clients come from online and go to the physical store or just drop in a physical store, they don't get a paper catalog, they get a catalog through WeChat.
Yes.
A catalog inside WeChat, and by doing that, they get the WeChat contact established.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We develop a program you can just apply in the WeChat. So
yeah.
On the right part, you can see some consumer, they like one bed. Then our salespeople can, through WeChat, to send more full room solutions with VR. Then, and also talk more, chat more with this consumer to improve the conversion rate. And also from database, we know which example room this consumer probably like more, because we know how many seconds he spent on each example room.
Yeah, so you use Taobao and Tmall to drive traffic from online when then the client get to the store and you use VR flagship to gain interest and qualify and get a touch and feel online, and then in the physical store you establish in Europe it would be a Facebook Messenger contact or WhatsApp contact with the client. You push a catalog and then you can actually remote selling because you have the dialogue established.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think this is a particular element where China is much more mature. And we see a lot of European retailers have a significant large databases or customer databases, but they don't use the data proactively to communicate with the client. And I think this shift where you use WeChat to communicate with the client directly, I think is really interesting. And I think this is something that we should consider to adopt in Europe much more, and what we could expect maybe. Yeah. And can you tell a bit more about going back to the ecosystem here? Can you tell a bit more about is there good harmony between the dealers? Are they keen of online? Are they supporting the online? Are they okay with redirecting sales to online? And how does your omnichannel model work? You talk about harmony.
Yeah. After 3 years cooperation with dealer, we are in harmony. The key thing is you share the cost with them, but meanwhile you also share your margin with them. And actually we also gain certain credibility. So for example, like this time during the crisis, our dealer, of course they lose their money, but they are not so panic. Actually, in return, they come back to us and they want to work with us together to find a solution. So that's why when we launch our VR flagship store, they invite their potential consumers. When we have our live show, they also proactively invite their potential consumers to us. So we share our database, we share our resources. And I think this is the way to help each other and work out a solution.
Yeah, and the live shows are done locally as well, right? So the local retailers, the local dealers are doing their own live shows in their local region of China.
Yeah, we start first. So we start in Shanghai as a company. Then our local dealer, they learned and they know how to do. They also do the live show in their local city.
Yeah, okay. We have to keep an eye on the time before going to QA. Just a question for you. I asked you, what have the most successful retailers in China done under the crisis? What did they do to survive, and how are they doing to recover now? What is your point of view on the most, on the retailers in China in general's ability to respond?
Yeah, I like the famous biologist Darwin said, usually the species who can survive is not the species, the strongest species or the most smart species. Usually the species who can survive is they can change fast. So actually during the whole lockdown in China, many retailers, they really try a lot of new ideas. For example, the hotel business, no guests, so they provide food delivery. They also provide laundry delivery service. Yeah, and also gym, no customers. They provide the online coaching, online training, etc. So they really move all these physical things outside and through online. Yes.
Okay. And just an example before going to the Q&A, you mentioned that the luxury brand Prada and Gucci, etc., they have been down with only 20% of normal sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just go here. So can you just explain? You saw that they actually started out on Tmall 2 months ago, and they were not on Tmall before, right?
Yeah, you can see the Giorgio Armani, Prada. Actually, they launched their online store end of February. In the past, they only focus offline store, so they focus how to make their retail store as luxury as possible. But during the outbreak, it's really no business, and people are really not going there. So then somehow the crisis forced them to open online store. So those two brands, they opened their online store just 1 month ago.
Yeah. We see that in other European brands. They are keeping away from the marketplaces. They don't want to be there. But maybe now with the situation about too much products on stock, they have to go to the marketplaces. And IKEA actually also within furniture opened a Tmall store. This is from the 10th of March. So there's a lot of dynamics now in the market of changing the channel mix and looking into other channels. Bestseller is on WeChat as well. But let's go to the questions. I will just try to answer some questions to keep the time, and then we'll just sum up after the questions. And of course, the question part here is optional to participate. But let's look into to some of the questions here. Here's a question. Considering the delayed wave of COVID-19 in Europe compared to China, our recovery period will most likely be over the summer, which is normally a low season for B2B. I think maybe it's B2B in general, or it could be furniture as well. I don't know the specific category here. Any reflections on that end, how to deal with that? So maybe you have some ideas, Helen. How do you deal with if you have a low season coming up and you're not recovered yet? How to deal with a low season?
Yeah. For example, during the outbreak, we found the study category become the high season. Yeah. So actually now is a really special special season. So I would like to suggest is better study the market to see during this low season what kind of business opportunity it will become.
Okay, and I think that from a European perspective, you will see a need of changing your channel mix. You will, especially in B2B, if you have salesmen stuck at home that cannot travel, you will have to look into be much more online in gaining interest for at least for new clients, or you have to be much more active on digital channels and remote selling. So the ways of selling, I think a lot of companies have to change that and have to look into how can we create demand for a B2B sales force from online to the sales to our sales people stuck at home or stuck at the office, not being able to travel around selling the products. Let's take one more here. My friend Rasmus Holen is asking, how far were you with the digital initiatives you showed before the corona? How many of these things we've shown now in this webinar did you already do before the corona crisis? Yeah, actually, the VR flagship store and also the some digital catalog we have already done before the crisis. Live show actually was our first time doing during this crisis. So actually, what I have learned from this crisis is agility and flexibility is very important for our company. So need to be really react fast and be flexible. Yeah. So what I've learned also from what you told me is that you are lucky that you actually established the WeChat, but that's communicating with consumers in China through WeChat is normal for all retailers, as I understand. It's not special for you, right?
No, it's a common platform. So actually the digitalize, luckily we start 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. But I think that's a really good situation to be in, and I think actually the European retailers with a large customer base, they could use their customer base right now to communicate through social or do some kind of remote selling. It's a matter of changing the ways of working. Yeah. Here's a question: how does the sales representative in the store approach the customer digitally? How do they start the communication when being remote?
Yeah, if we just look at consumers' purchasing behavior, usually if the consumer, they really like your products, during the traditional way, they will ask, do you have some catalog? So this is our starting point. And instead of give a printed catalog, we give a digital catalog, because we can be traced, and we can trace, track, talk, communicate with our consumers digitally. Yeah,
I think that's a key difference, as I told you in our pre-meeting, Helen, a key difference to the European market. But is it okay just to start up the dialogue afterwards, saying hello and start a conversation on WeChat? Is that all normal?
Yeah, actually, for the potential consumers, once we know what their interest from the database we get from this digital catalog, our salespeople will give them more options. Then also for the purchased consumers, they already bought our products. Then we know what kind of other products, our newly launched product, they may be interested, because we are kids furniture. So based on our database, our consumer who purchased after 6 months, 8 months, they will add more products. So we also continue to talk with them and like friends.
Yeah, and you said that after 1 year, there's typically, by statistics, there's typically a new need for a new furniture product, a new interior product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Flexia, we said is our furniture grow with kids. So as long as grown up, they always need to add some few pieces.
Yeah. Okay. There's more questions here. This part is optional, but we'll just continue finalizing the question and answers here. We got a question here. Can you tell a bit more about the delivery setup? How do you deliver the product, and how fast do you have express delivery?
Yeah, through the online business, speed is the keyword. So in China, there are many delivery companies, and we choose the fast and the best service delivery company. So our online store, what we can promise is we deliver furniture within 48 hours. We deliver textile within 24 hours.
Okay, so that's fast. But does it depend on the region? Is it like that speed in every region, or because China is a huge country?
Yeah. Usually our business is mainly the bigger cities. So the delivery company who work with us is the speediest delivery company. So 2-3 days, they really can ship from warehouse to consumer home, the furniture, yes.
Okay. And here's a question more, how strong was your brand before the crisis? Have you seen less strong brands succeed moving to online? So the question is, was your brand strong before? Can you get success even though you're not a strong brand, you're a small brand?
In kids furniture brand category, Flexia actually is the leading kids furniture brand in China, and after this crisis, actually, I should say we become stronger. Just to benchmark what our competitor have done. Actually, not many competitor they really have their online store, and this is first thing. Second is the VR flagship store. I should say we are the first one launch, and still till now we are the first one to just present to our consumer, and also the digital catalog, etc. We are the number one to present to Chinese consumer. So we somehow we really use digital to stay closer to our potential consumers. And now the trend is people are really moving from offline to online. So I should say our proposition will be even stronger.
Yeah. Okay, and while we get the last question, I will just ask you all to go to the bottom bar and take the poll. And I would just like to see the statistics across. We're like 60, 70 people left here, to see the statistic of to what extent has your company experienced a decline in sales? No decline, growth, no change. 0 to 20%, 20 to 40%, or 40% plus. That you should be able to see the poll now. And now it's live. So while taking the last question from Lars, he's asking what will be the situation regarding consumers buying more and more Chinese brands over foreign brands. I know this trend has started before the COVID, but has it been enforced during COVID? How do you see that development? Do you see the consumers will buy more Chinese after the crisis now, or will they buy the same percentage of foreign brands?
Yeah, if this question asked me 8-10 years ago, I should say is the Chinese people, as long as they have money, they will buy foreign brands for sure. Yeah, but now with China more open up and the consumer become more mature, actually these foreign brands, Chinese brands, it's not so, how to say, people will use this as key indicator. But there's one thing consumer still share is people buy products is by the convenience. So as long as you know what the Chinese consumer really wants, no matter Chinese brand or foreign brand, you reach your target consumers. So among flagship, recently we launched our Red Dot Award popsicle products. And when our designers start to design popsicle, we already involved to brief to designers. So when popsicle launch, it's very successful in China. So people, they like popsicle because popsicle, Chinese consumer perceive it. There's no, how to say, something, they feel gap. So this is important in product development.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Helen. Just the last question for you. How worried are you for the second outbreak, and what do you think about the recovery, and what is the timeline, and how sure are you that China will be fully recovered in 2-3 months? Would it be longer? Would it be 2-3 months for sure, or what do you think?
I hope and I believe in 2-3 months we can recover.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I think that's what everyone in Europe is hoping to hear a bit more about. I will just end up here summing up that we'll provide for you. We had webinars last week with like an overview how to respond both under the crisis right now and how to respond afterwards. And I will provide for the participants here impacts recommendations that goes into tuning your digital performance, moving your existing personal to online sales, doing fully omnichannel. Helen is a great inspiration, and looking into how can you ensure your customer database. How can you ensure that you keep your best customers and that you make your good customers even more frequent. We'll provide you with a bit more information, And we'll also look into, in this information we'll provide you with, also look into the change that we see towards digital commerce. We expect a more rapid adoption of digital commerce based on the COVID, shown on the curve here. But going to the last slide here, for the ones of you that want a bit more information, we'll do a retake of our webinar, How to Combat the Effects of COVID-19 in the Easter. Some of you are maybe stuck at home. On April 17, we will have a UX webinar around understanding your customers. And then we have 2 more upcoming webinars just after Easter. The date has to be defined. We will tell more tomorrow on Friday about the dates. We will provide you with a newsletter that gives a full seminar, a webinar list, so you can get inspired and you can get the knowledge under the crisis and maybe being stuck at home. And with that, Helen, I will just say thank you so much for your time. It was really great to have you here. And I must say, whenever we look into your omnichannel module, how you execute it, I'm deeply impressed, and I think you're doing a great job. And thank you to your boss, Carsten Madsen, who's a friend of mine, the CEO of Flexa, for arranging this. I think it was really valuable. And to the rest of you that choose to stay a bit longer, you'll get more information, and stay tuned. Do something, act is better than being static at the moment. So please act. We'll provide you with information, and we hope that you will keep your sales somewhat running through this tough period. So thank you for now from Paris and Shanghai, and see you soon for a new webinar, which I will host from here as well. Thank you.